snacks.
What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. That's Jokes. That's Sin. This is LS Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about things going on in pop culture.
Cool.
We usually have a pretty good time doing this.
Absolutely.
For anybody that's new to the show, the format is pretty simple. We usually bring a topic to the table, discuss our feelings and thoughts and so forth on it. Sometimes more than one topic.
Right.
Mm-hmm. This time, one single thing.
Okay.
I want to dig into something that's on my mind, which is, so it seems to be relatively well known that there is a Black Widow movie being made. Okay? However, for some reason, Marvel and Disney have not acknowledged the existence of this film. Everything is super hush, super mum, and I don't understand why. But I would love for us to try to figure it out right here, right now.
Don't know why, but one of the reasons being that they said we wouldn't hear about anything next until after Spider-Man comes out, and maybe they're waiting for that to drop to start releasing all this information to us?
Could be.
Possibly.
Absolutely, totally possible. Could be that there's a spoiler in Spider-Man somewhere or something like that. However, at this juncture, people have seen Spider-Man already.
Sure.
Like, the previews are up, whatever. Even if people aren't allowed to talk about the movie or if it was something like that, I feel like if there was something that even could be tied to that,
it probably would have been out there by now.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So it's like when you have set photos that are leaking, you know what I'm saying, that are saying, okay, yep, this,
It's there.
Yeah, it's like, clearly this is a thing that's happening.
Right.
Do we think the film is in trouble? Is it possible it doesn't come out? Is it not going to end up being a theatrical release and maybe it's going straight to...
I can see it.
I don't think they like Disney streaming. So I don't know if they would do that.
Now Disney streaming service.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm talking about.
I can see that because that's their new big. That's one they're just trying to push and get them subscribers in.
I don't know, but with all the talks of Scarlett Johannson, giving her like the equal pay and everything, I feel like that is something that they want to be in the movie theater. Like,
sure.
I mean, granted, I don't know if it's like trying to put like in game. They wanted to keep everything tight lip, hush. We want to preserve this so when you guys go see this movie, it's
right.
just absolutely mind blowing or whatnot ever. I don't know if that's necessarily what they're trying to go forth on that with it, or if it's maybe they don't. At this point, it's a prequel, right? This is set before. Yeah. Well, we don't technically.
That's my understanding.
What the rumor is that it is a prequel, and that it is either supposed to be prior to her introduction in Iron Man 2,
okay,
or it is prior to Civil War.
Interesting.
Because I would think
interesting.
As much as getting that, I mean, she's kind of told her origin in bits and pieces.
Sure.
But I don't want to say it's too late necessarily to do the Black Widow origins piece.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the thing. For me, if it's prior to Civil War, then that means it's after Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember at the end of Winter Soldier, Nick Fury, Cap all met up at Nick Fury's gravesite.
Yeah.
And Falcon and Steve were going off to look for Bucky.
Right.
Yep.
She was not. She was going off to do her own thing. Whatever that was. There's no SHIELD. She's not working for SHIELD or technically for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what she was going to do. She wasn't with Nick that we know of,
right.
But she could have been.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, that period of time between the end of Winter Soldier and Civil War starts, we have no idea what she was doing.
Nah. I kind of like that time
I would be fine. I'd be
kinda
better
like
with
I kind of like that time
that
period of
flow
having
of
to put
it
in, yeah.
than necessarily trying to tell, the whole
Going all the
backstory
way
and
back,
doing all of that at this
yeah.
point.
Right.
I mean, long shot out there. I mean, could this have something to do with how the whole Soul Stone piece breaks out? Like, I know that's shooting for the stars, maybe.
Nah.
I'm just thinking of what we like to throw speculations and throw them just for the window.
Throw away, sir.
Maybe when the person dies, and the person that was still alive just got automatically teleported back to the beginning of before even walking in. We don't necessarily know what happened to said dead person that was left at the bottom of the Soul Stone. Supposedly soul for the soul, but what if maybe they got restored someplace else?
Oh, you mean on Vormir? Like
Vormir, yeah.
You don't know what happened. Okay.
Maybe she's then been teleported. Maybe she has no memories of that. Maybe she's in a different time place, and maybe this is where things are playing out. Maybe this is like one of those multiverse type of things that could come into play. I don't know, but it's like,
I mean, there's a ridiculous number of possibilities for what they could do with it. But even if they're doing that, why won't they acknowledge it?
I don't know.
Like, look, to simply say, yep, there's a Black Widow movie being made.
And that's it.
That's all I'm asking. Like, you don't have to give us any details. You don't have to tell us when it's coming. I mean, they're filming it, so it's got to be coming.
Maybe it's still up in the air. Maybe
later.
it's still up in the air where they want to house it. Do we want to put this in a movie, or do we want to put this on Disney Plus?
And that's the thing, right? So I understand what you're saying about the pay, like them paying her the same as. But you also have to look at it and think about how much risk there is with putting it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Because after being in those films, after a movie like Endgame, the barrier is super high.
Mm-hmm.
And you could run the risk of, well, let's put it in the theater. Let's have people come and see it because they need this chapter or this piece of the MCU. But if it's a prequel, then unless there are things that are tied to something else that's going on in this phase,
it's no need.
It's actually not important to this phase.
Right.
Maybe. Right? So if there's a character that maybe is in this film that she meets, that it turns out she met a couple of years ago, at this point, and now, 7 or 8 years ago, because we had the 5-year jump in Endgame.
And maybe they could show up later with like a mission, not a mission, but like a message from her if someone's ever happened to her. Give
this
right.
to.
I mean, it don't even have to be that. It could just be that person is still around, or they're back. They got dusted, but they're back.
Maybe they come
whatever,
for
but they know,
like,
but they. It could be that there's somebody that she met, and let's just say they establish a West Coast Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, or something like that, right? Because she could have went anywhere. Like, we don't know where she ended up when all that went down. So, let's say she ended up over there, and that somebody she spoke to or talked to, maybe she tried to recruit somebody. You know what I'm saying, or something like that. Was like, hey, look, things are bad. I mean, there had to be all kinds of spies, people who were members of S.H.I.E.L.D., folks that she knew or whatever. When S.H.I.E.L.D., went under, they were all basically criminals at that point, right? So, where are you hiding? You know what I mean? Could it be that, like, Taskmaster is supposed to be in it? Sometimes Taskmaster is shown as, like, an anti-hero. Mm-hmm. Could it be that somebody hired him
to track her down,
to go find her?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or something like that. And who is the person that hired her, right? Could it be Colonel Ross, right?
Okay.
And could we be looking at a Thunderbolts Red Hulk in the future? And you know what I mean? That comes back around or whatever. Any other, like, here's where I see the potential for that, right? As far as a prequel and how it could be effective in this phase is if one of the things they didn't do that they could still deal with based on that is in the comics when Civil War happened, the Sokovia Accords, they weren't the Sokovia Accords in the comics, but the government basically funded even villains. They formed these teams that they sent out to look for whether you were a hero or a villain. Anybody who hadn't signed the act and given up what their
registering identity.
Yeah, they hadn't given their identity, right? And there were teams like the Thunderbolts who were villains. It was like Venom and Red Hulk, and like it was teams of villains, but they were now government sanctioned, hunting down heroes, you know, who hadn't. So in that time period, right, where you're going into Civil War, well, nah, because it would have been after Civil War. So, like, how do you send people out? Because that took place before Civil War. Yeah. If it's in between, it took place before Civil War. So, like, I don't know. if you decided, what if we, you know, yes, we've given her the same amount of money we gave them to do a theatrical release, but if you're looking at the potential numbers and the amount of money you can make when those subscriptions start coming in, if this is an essential part of the MCU storyline, even if it is a prequel, but maybe even more importantly if it's a prequel and it's not directly tied to Phase 4, but you want to get some of that additional story, maybe even see characters who are technically not around now because this is a prequel. Right? Could she have had some contact or done something to help Falcon and Steve, you know, in their search for Bucky, you know what I mean, or something like that? While she was doing it, you could get some very key information. And when you're building other pieces that are MCU, that are around characters that technically do still exist, characters that don't exist, like Vision and Scarlet Witch, right? Like, Vision's as dead as robots get, right?
Yeah,
like,
he done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless Shuri repairs him, we ain't getting no Vision in Phase 4.
No.
But we are supposed to be getting a show with him and Scarlet Witch in
the 70s.
On the
it was
50s.
The
50s. I knew
it was on Disney Plus. So it's like you're taking characters that are a part of this franchise and you're using them on this. If the first or the only or the major feature-length film is the Black Widow one, maybe that's a major selling point for it, and they just make that decision. Maybe they put it in theaters and Disney Plus.
Netflix been doing that now.
At the same time.
That's true too.
Or like
limited
one
run.
right after.
Limited run in the theater, and then hey.
Not even necessarily limited run, but like, I mean, maybe a limited brief moment of time or something like that before, you know, it's in the theater for 2 weeks. It's going to be in there for longer than that.
Right.
But if you're a Disney Plus member,
boom, you got it right here.
You can watch it now. I mean,
I like the Disney Plus angle. For some reason, I'm just feeling that vibe. Like, there's no other reason why I feel like they wouldn't mention a Black Widow movie. She's a character that's been around.
You're right. It's like they just
since Iron Man 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for them not to say it, especially if pictures and all this other stuff is coming. And
people have been talking about it and asking for this film,
right, for years
now.
Yeah. I think Disney Plus is probably their aim. That's why
and this
they're tight-lipped about it.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, like,
and I think they're trying to be very careful about it because I feel like it's one of those things where
if it's not worded correctly, they can get some backlash. Why can't she get in the theater? Stuff like that.
There is definitely going to be some backlash around that.
Yeah, and it could just be the fact that they'll say that, you know what, this doesn't necessarily tie directly into the MCU, but this is like almost, I don't want to say a what if.
Well, they can say it just has nothing to do with Phase 4.
Right. I mean,
like, this isn't part of the Phase 4 lineup, but it's something that the fans have asked for.
So we're going to give it to you.
So we're going ahead for it. It's coming straight to Disney Plus. It's a full-length feature film. It does fit in a time period at some point throughout all that stuff. You'll see, you'll meet some other characters, stuff like that. Like,
it'll fit into the continuity of what the MCU is, but it doesn't necessarily have the ramifications of what some of these other movies would necessarily play into
going forward
the universe.
I mean, look, with Disney Plus, you know, if you're doing a Falcon and let's be as real as we can be. Is a Falcon movie gonna do numbers?
No.
Sadly, no.
Is a Winter Soldier movie gonna do numbers?
I would say more than Falcon, but not what they're looking for now.
It ain't gonna do Black Panther numbers.
No, not at all.
No.
Right? So, Scarlet Witch, is that gonna do numbers?
No.
Vision, is that gonna do, like,
No.
when you look at the characters, when you look at the
do.
characters that are left, right, from the first 3 phases, we just gotta be honest about it. Am I happy to see them do a Black Widow movie? Yes. Would I go see it in the theater? Yes. Would it do numbers?
Oh, that's the tricky part.
Isn't it though?
It's the tricky part.
When you introduce somebody new, like Ant-Man, right? Ant-Man did numbers that were unexpected.
Right.
Right?
Same with Guardians.
Same with Guardians. But you're introducing somebody new that hasn't been seen
Right.
anywhere else.
Versus
Trying to take a character that is already established, that we already have some history with, and do something with them is harder to do. It's harder to do. At least with the existing cast as it currently exists. Like if you said they were doing a Star-Lord movie and they weren't doing a Guardians movie, but the strength of Chris Pratt,
I think I can kind of see it. Yeah.
more than a Black Widow. If for nothing other than the sheer comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he would kill.
And I'm gonna keep it a super buck. I like Scarlett Johannson now. I was not a fan of hers prior to the MCU. I'll be as honest as possible, right? But on the strength of what she's done in the MCU, she has had other films that were in the action adventure, and she's the star, and they haven't done numbers.
Right.
Lucy, nah.
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell, nah. 2 very. I mean, Lucy could have been really good. It wasn't her fault. That was a terrible. Like, it was not written or directed or edited well. There were issues in there that didn't have anything to do with her.
Herself, right.
But it doesn't change the fact, right, that it didn't do numbers.
Right.
And here's the real deal. Again, as much as I like Scarlett Johansson in this role as Black Widow in the MCU, I cannot think of a single film where Scarlett Johansson is in where she is the box office draw.
Right.
No, she isn't.
So
it's the big 3: Tony, Chris. Well, you know.
But again,
Thor, Iron Man.
I'm saying, even, like, for real, Chris Hemsworth. Men in Black ain't doing numbers.
It didn't do numbers.
Let's keep it stacked. Every other film that he's done outside of Thor hasn't done numbers. It is a strength of what that character is and what the MCU is that allowed that to go. And arguably, he has the worst films of all of them. 3 was dope.
I was gonna say, yeah.
3 was dope.
3 was dope. You know, Chris Evans, Snowpiercer's dope. I don't know if you saw it.
That's one of those things that's on my list, very high up to watch.
Snowpiercer's dope, but it ain't like big theatrical release that did numbers.
Right.
No, that's more like,
you know what I'm saying? Like
classic type of thing.
So what else have you seen him in? Did it do numbers? Exactly. So
Captain America, that's it.
Right? Robert Downey Jr. Love the dude. Think he's the perfect Tony Stark. Tropic Thunder, one of my favorite.
Absolutely.
Did it do numbers?
The Tropic Thunder do numbers?
Yeah.
I think it did.
Tropic
Thunder did numbers.
Do you think so?
I think it did okay. I think it did okay.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
But did it do numbers?
Numbers, not so much, but...
Has he done anything else since then other than Sherlock? Sherlock did numbers.
Yeah, Sherlock did.
Yeah.
But it's basically Tony Stark. I mean, like, for real?
Yeah, it is.
It's basically Tony Stark in another time period.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
pretty right.
I like the dude. I think he's a great actor. He's the blackest white actor I've ever seen, other than C. Thomas Howell Soul Man. Like, that's what it is. But, like, there is something about Marvel and the MCU and what is going on in the MCU that is the draw. And I think it is bigger under most circumstances than the individuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the MCU is becoming the draw itself. Like once you see that Marvel logo in the theater, or you're watching trailers on YouTube, you're already attention. Like you're not even caring about who's in it, who's starting in it.
You're seeing this part of this bigger entity, and you're like wondering where is this going to go.
And now with the whole like the way they've done it, structured everything, we're so fathered in to what happens next in the story.
Right, and that's what you want. Next? What happens next?
What happens
so
next?
If you introduce something that is a prequel, it's not part of the what happens next.
Right.
And if you're gonna try to tie it to what happens next, you got to do that really, really well.
Oh yeah. Call them
That sounds like, and that sounds like a Disney Plus thing.
I think that's where it's going. It's just, I agree with you. It's just they're taking their time because they want to say it properly.
Right.
Because they're trying to avoid as much backlash as possible.
They're gonna mess this up. I feel like they are going to mess this up.
I think they're scared they're going to mess it up. That's why they have not said a word yet.
Yeah. And I think she's mum about it because she like, oh, for real? Y'all just going to put me on it? Or y'all going to stream me?
Right now, like, look, let's just get past Spider-Man first.
Right. You right.
And then let's get past Spider-Man.
What's up?
My movie's being made now.
The last thing they want is for all this bad publicity to come out when Spider-Man.
I mean, look, you never know. Keep in mind that Endgame was filmed like 2 years before. Like, Endgame was filmed before Captain Marvel was filmed. Like, when Captain Marvel played Captain Marvel in Endgame, she hadn't even filmed her own movie.
Yeah, they pulled her. I was like, so we kind of need you.
This is what we can. This is what you can do. Here's your powers.
We need 48 hours with you. Just come on. Don't ask no questions. Don't ask no questions. Just come in, shoot some stuff.
Oh, by the way, we got to cut your hair. So, yeah.
You're going to need to grow that back. Alright, so I want you guys to talk to us and tell us what you think is going on with this whole Black Widow movie. Where do you think it's going to end up? How do you feel about it? What should the messaging be like
if it's
going straight to Disney Plus?
And do you prefer, would you rather see the movies or Disney Plus? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah. Same thing. Where we at? Alright, y'all. With that, this has been Low and Snacks Weekly. We are out. Toodles and loos. What it do, snackers and snackettes? Did you like what you just saw? If so, all I need you to do is like, share, and subscribe. Then hit the ding-a-ling bell so you get a notification every time we upload a new video. Then shoot over to patreon.com/loading snacks where you can support us. Then click this video or click this video. Now, who got snacks? Anybody? Who got snacks?
I do.